Late in the 19th century, many Chinese immigrants resided on the United States West Coast. They went there as laborers during the gold rush and railroad expansion. But with the gold rush over and many of the railroads built, some American laborers wanted the Chinese out. The economic panic of 1873 and the increase in job competition heightened racial tensions. Intense political pressure against the Chinese was led by organized groups of white workers in California who feared that the Chinese threatened American civilization and diminished job opportunities for them. Lawmakers in Congress saw in this controversy a way to gain votes. They proposed a new law called the Chinese Exclusion Act, which would ban most Chinese immigration into the country. Supporters of the Chinese Exclusion Act argued that Chinese immigrants were driving down wages through cheap labor and taking jobs away from U.S. citizens. They also drained the national wealth by sending much of their earnings back to China rather than circulating it back into the U.S. economy. Their cheap labor only serves to further enrich the capitalists who hire them, widening the gap between the rich and poor. Supporters also argued that the Chinese resist converting to Christianity, keep to themselves, and refuse to assimilate into American culture. Those opposed to the Exclusion Act argued that working for lower wages aids the economy by spurring new developments and technology. They noted that the Chinese take jobs that most Americans are not willing to perform anyway, and the reason they don't assimilate as readily as other immigrants is because they're discriminated against and mistreated, sometimes violently. The Chinese are hard workers and law-abiding immigrants, they argued, and those opposed to them are simply driven by racism and bigotry. America, they assert, should be a refuge open to all people seeking freedom and opportunity. The Chinese Exclusion Act passed and remained in effect until 1943, and the issues it raised are still with us today. What side would you have taken in the late 1800s? And what can we learn from history about the immigration debates of today?